A good great morning to all of those who tune into the realest thing coming out of Guyana. Undisputably so. And that could be said for across the world. This morning, I am the bearer of bad news on my morning program, although most of you would have received that information last night via social media, via live that I did, where I was on the ground, where comedian and educator Sir Mars was brutally murdered. There is a individual who is being looked at as a suspect. Can we have the photo? And this young man is said to be 21 years of age and would have made threats. Now we're going to look at some video footage that is very, very disturbing. We're going to try to work around one of the things we're going to have this morning, one of the discussions we need to have this morning is why do gay men reach their demise in such a gruesome fashion? It's a question, it's a simple question that should be asked. Most people don't have an answer to that because they did or would not have thought about that. All right, so let me get, for those of you who do not know who Sir Mars is, let me get a photograph for you to give you guys an idea of who Sir Mars is. And this is a photograph of him in better days. So very unfortunate situation. No matter what an individual's sexuality is, that has nothing to do with it. But obviously there are issues in our society that we're not addressing, that we're not looking at seriously. This is Sir Mars. So well-known comedian, entertainer, and I was informed even a head teacher. I thought he was just an educator teacher. He might have been a head teacher for one of our schools. So he is an individual who has dedicated his life to contributing to our society, no matter what the circumstances are. He has dedicated his life to contributing to our society. Last night when I was reinstating the fact that Sir Mars was a gay man, is when one would look at scenarios and situations to wonder why Sir Mars was killed in such a brutal fashion. One has to know what would cause things like that. And that is also what we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss, you're going to get my opinion. And since I have investigated a number of instances like this, where gay men were brutally murdered. Brutally murdered. This is just one such instance, very unfortunate, but so this video footage that we're going to look at is very disturbing. Please,
this is what's going on. Oh my God, Sir Mars.
So this video footage is very disturbing. Please, viewer discretion is advised. This is Sir Mars's body behind his vehicle. And I'll give you a fair idea from video footage last night. I was on the ground, I was live. There was a real eerie feeling there. Nobody, under no circumstance, should die in this manner. Nobody. But one would have to understand the human psyche to really put into context why gay men continually die in this gruesome manner. So let's look at the scene and then I will give my take. Right? Sad situation.
In here.
This video was done by an individual who would have reached the crime scene just after the incident. I don't know if Sir Mars was still alive at this time, but I can tell you also we are unaware if it is as a result of injuries that he received from being crushed by the vehicle caused his death, or stab wounds or chops. Because Sir Mars, when the investigators were there, they removed a blade about 18 inches, what we call a small chop away, chopped chicken bone and these kind of things, was removed from the crime scene. It was bagged and removed from the crime scene. So that was very, very unfortunate. So let's look at this. This is moments after this situation happened. Then I'll show you last night from my life what the scene was like, what it was like while they removed the body and so on and so forth.
Oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh my Lord. Oh my God.
So this is Sir Mars' head here, wow, being crushed between the car.
Right next to me, somebody just did this. I'm gone running. Oh my God, this is so sad. This is what's going on. Oh my God, Sir Mars.
Let me give you guys
dead. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh
an
my
idea
Lord.
of.
Oh my God. Wow.
Let me give you guys an idea of what transpired. So last night I was following up on a report that I learned of from Big Smith Crime Watch, and there was a posting that the fact that Sir Mars might have been killed and ran over by his own vehicle, and a suspect was on the run. I went down to the back of Providence, that is Massey Road, straight down, turned right, drove for about 4 corners, then took a second right, and then yet a third right. Upon following a dark, desolate road, I saw lights. I come to learn after it was police and paramedics tracking a blood trail that was heading in the southern direction from the crime scene, right? So let me get the live from last night, and this would be able to give you guys a little understanding of what the scene looked like last night. So this was about the scene. This was the scene last night. This is how the layout was. The gray car that you see here, this vehicle, had some damages to this area here. This area here had some damages, and there was some blood on the bumper there. So all around this crime scene in all directions there was blood. Let me just move forward.
The road, last street, Providence. So that is a blood spot washing out. And again, I told you, rain has fallen 2 times since I'm here, and so it's not swabbing these bloods to maybe get an understanding of the DNA of the individual. But I can tell you, I just received reports from someone close that this is, as you can see, very desolate and dark area, and
very
people are
dark
afraid to come through here.
and
so
desolate
they're asking
area.
maybe if they could get some street lights and the road if the road could be fixed. And this is Last Street, Providence. Weather.
So this was the area. At the time, it was pitch dark. Let me go back to... So at one time here, the Guyana Fire Service removed the vehicle, and Sir Mars's body was some bit exposed. So just before this, there would have been a... Let me take you to the scene where the crime scene investigators would have bagged... The process of bagging and tagging. So this is just at about the time that crime scene investigators would have tagged a huge knife, or what we call a chopper,
off of Sir Mars's body. It seems that police and paramedics were unable to locate us. Still on, as a matter of that I have had from what?
So I'm trying to get the exact point for you guys where
trail all the way back
this huge knife. That's what you're seeing there in the hands of detective with the hazmat suit. That is a huge knife that was just moments before bagged. So let me try to see if I could get the instance itself where it was. So as you see, you could barely see in the middle of the screen here that this is the bag, and it is about 18 inches the size of the knife, chopper we call it. So very, very unfortunate. The Guyana Fire Service was called in to assist. At this time, this is what they were doing. And at this time, the car is still on the body. Now I'll give you other videos that give you different perspective from within the yard and around the crime scene.
So I'll back away a little bit just to ensure that we do not this is obviously going to be very distressing.
So what you're looking at here is members of the Guyana Fire Service making attempts to remove the vehicle that at this time is on Sir Mars' body, and also because of how the body was mangled, he was, and you're going to see in a video that I'm going to show, he was squeezed between, he was under the vehicle, most of his lower part from his torso going down was under the vehicle, and then parts of his body, his upper torso and head was crushed between
what
the
was
vehicle.
The relationship between Sir Mars and a young man who is said to be the suspect that killed him?
Just a fairly lengthy video.
Photograph of the suspect, and hopefully we'll get a better understanding of what exactly transpired here, causing the gruesome demise of Sir Mars.
So Sir Mars, one person in the comments is asking, Sir Mars did not live at that location. What he was doing there? Did the suspect live at the location? What is the relationship between Sir Mars and the suspect? These are all questions to be asked. Or these are all questions that need answers, but police are doing their investigation and would obviously get to the bottom of this. So this video footage is came live. I was live via the crime scene last night, and this was somewhere about 11:30, 12 o'clock. So we'll discuss what went wrong, what I see as a result of the evidence, so that is the body of Sir Mars, and that was basically the position that he was in, being crushed between the vehicle, his own vehicle, and the fence.
So the body of Sir Mars was the vehicle that was on his body was just.
So, just to give you an idea,
exposing the dead body.
we're going to show some other video footage. So this is said to be Sir Mars's brother. Sasha?
I really want to share the information with me. I know it's a secret. So that individual is just saying.
Let me get the other footage. Where are the downloads? I just had the downloads here. What is that? Control G. Okay, cool.
This is what's going on.
So
Oh my
this
God,
is
Sir
not-
Mars, like.
This is not it. So, yeah, there's some areas I've already skipped that is very gruesome. So that is Sir Mars being braced between the vehicle. The flash that you're seeing there is the back lights of his vehicle, and you'll get a fair idea of how his body was, and that is the body under the vehicle. So his body was twisted and mangled, obviously broken bones. Whether it is the suspect left the scene bleeding, so whether it is the suspect who was stabbed or Sir Mars who was stabbed, we're yet to ascertain. Obviously, we're going to get that from an autopsy report. But, well, Shelley is asking about motive. Yes, we're going to discuss all of that and why continuously gay men reach their demise in such a gruesome fashion. Right? So let me go through with complete this video. So if you see him being crushed between, and this is a little bloody scene that I would prefer not to have shown. The suspect at this time is a 21-year-old, and we have a photograph of him. This is the suspect. He is said to be injured. Is it as a result of being stabbed? What exactly transpired there? Investigators will be looking to see if they can access CCTV footage this morning that would help in explaining what exactly transpired. So we go straight into a discussion. So gay men, for as long as I have known, have always reached their demise in a gruesome fashion. When it is a case whereas not all gay men die by being murdered, lots of gay men die by natural causes and so on. But in the instance when a gay man ends up in a situation like this, in most cases they are murdered brutally. Looking at the suspect, one would realize this is a young, impressionable individual. So Mars was an educator. Nonetheless, he had his sexual preferences. Two things stand out when gay men are brutally murdered. They are men, nonetheless. This is why I say gay man. Why do we have this discussion? But why was Sir Mars murdered? How would it have happened? Was it a robbery? An attempted robbery gone wrong, or a carjacking gone wrong? And if so, how then, while this incident had just transpired, persons would have been able to access this young man's photo? I overheard one body at the crime scene saying Sir Mars received threats from this individual. What was the relationship between Sir Mars and this individual? So what happens, and it's not, the discussion is because of this case, not of this case, just for clarity. So the discussion is because of this case. So most of these young men would have passed through some situation and found themselves in a situation. Only recently there was discussion on the web with another individual who is gay, that purports to help young men. So what happens, most of these young men would not have been sexually abused or otherwise, but they would have been abused. They would have grown up in a poor home. They would have had things that they were lacking in their home. So they look for somebody for guidance. So most of the time they're coerced into what they want to do. And these young men have to fight with themselves in trying to be seen as a man in society, while having to perform gay acts with a man. So look at this young man. You look at his posture. You don't see him expressing any overly feministic attitude or girl-like behavior or female-like behavior. So you're looking at a young man, he wants to be seen a certain way and accepted a certain way in society. But somehow he meets somebody who could take care of him, give him nice things the easy way, and then he is asked to do, and this is most cases, he's asked to perform acts that he is fighting within himself. Because one asks oneself, how does a young man like this turn into a brutal killer? How does a young man like this turn into a brutal killer? There are a lot of people going through depression. There are a lot of people with personal issues out there. So these are some of the discussions we now have to have in light of the information we have. Now, it has not been confirmed that is the Sormar's case. I am saying, in every instance where an older gay man was murdered by a younger man, which would be at the time considered to be their partner or someone they intended to have sexual intercourse with or sex with, since intercourse has an outline what intercourse is. And I don't think anal falls under that. I'm not sure. So I could be corrected on that. But I just don't want to use the term until I get clarity. So every instance of a brutal murder like this, there's a age disparity. There's an outward look to the younger male and who would want to be seen as an alpha male. There would have been some coercion and individual would have been brought in a lot of times against their will of what they want to do, because a young man like this is fighting or would have to fight when finding himself in the circumstance, will have to fight with the fact that he likes girls, but girls can't give him what he wants. He wants nice clothes, he wants nice watch, you understand, he wants money, and he doesn't want to work. So there's a struggle. This is not for Sir Mars, this is not for the young man. This is because it's a situation. When do we discuss situations? When they come to the forefront. And nobody has been looking at that. What I'm discussing here cannot be disputed. Every instance that a gay man has been brutally murdered, and this is brutal, there was a weapon involved, and then the car, Sir Mars' car, was pulled off of his body. The chops or whatever wasn't enough. Now, if you look at the scene closely, you will recognize that attempts were so this is the scene last night, and the car, the silver car that is backing us here right now, this car here, this vehicle here, has damages. Attempts were made to drive this car. Blood spots are on certain areas of that car.
Dead under his.
So just here, there's blood. At other locations around,
crushed by his own vehicle as crime scene investigators carry out their investigation.
Right? So blood was all over this place. Sir Mars was fighting for his life. And Sir Mars is a very strong individual. What transpired here? Sir Mars was fighting for his life. Where I stood, some 50 feet away, there was blood there. Sir Mars might have been viciously attacked. Then what was the intention of getting this car and moving this car? it's it beg one's it brings one to wonder what would cause, what would trigger something like this. What could surmise an educator, an individual who deals with young boys and girls on a daily basis, knowing how annoying they can be, right? Who deals with this on a daily basis, what would cause Sir Mars to have such a confrontation? What would cause someone to have such anger towards Sir Mars? These are questions that need answers. It's a discussion that must be had, and no better time than now. Right? No better time than now. If not now, when are we going to have these discussions? This continues to happen. What were they doing there? This is an apartment building that have some 6 apartments. From the step-in arrangement, they had 3 apartments upstairs, 3 apartments downstairs. What was Sir Mars and this young man doing? Their neighbors complained of the area being a dangerous area, dark streets. If this was a suspect, an unknown suspect, how did individuals get the photograph of the suspect just moments after? How did that happen? So these are things that we need to discuss. Now, in 50 feet in the western direction of the crime scene, there was also blood on the ground. So there's a very large area that this incident covered. So someone is saying, James is saying he was Sir Mars, one of Sir Mars' students, and he likes showing authority, but still yet sometimes funny. I see no other way of getting control of a classroom unless you have the ability to show authority. So I don't know. No, but in every case, somebody saying it could be a jealous love affair went wrong. In every case, instance, it has to be looked at, because you have a young man who is suppressing or oppressing his feelings, because you have to struggle with that. If you personally are not, this is a next area, there were blood spots, and at this time rain had fell for 2 times, so blood had started to wash away. Right? There's a clumps of thick black blood. I don't know if the suspect wrapped up his hand, what caused him to be there, and that was in another direction at the time. So hi, morning.
Morning. What do I have to do in regards to the permit? Do I go into NDC and ask them?
The NDC and ask them, yes. Tell them your interest is to doing concrete drains.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to give it to me?
They're going to tell you exactly what the requirements, and they're going to get it up for you.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I'm heading there now. Thank you.
All right.
That's total. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So no, the gray car there, actually there was an attempt to remove the car. It seems that Sir Mars, at one point in time, the fight would have left from in the car, come out of the car, then went back into the car. But this was not only a vehicle involved, there was also a a weapon, a knife about 18 inches, and a chopper, we call a chopper, about 18 inches in length. So someone is suggesting how his car was parked. Well, it wasn't exactly on the bridge. It was a bit off of the bridge. And that car, the other car that was there, the gray car, that was actually parked there, is a car belonging to another resident of the apartment building. You understand? So, that is, now to give you an idea of what's going on here. Let's go back to one of the videos.
This is what's going on.
Exactly.
Oh my God, Sir Mars lying here dead. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh my Lord.
So that is behind the car that you were just looking at. While I was videoing, this was the scene behind, because this happened just moments after Sir Mars was murdered.
Oh my God. Wow. Right next to me, somebody just did this. I'm gone running. Oh my God, this is so sad.
So I do not know who this individual is, the voice of the person I'm hearing there, but I can tell you, obviously, knowing Sir Mars, the individual was very upset. So this is a next angle. This was taken from in the yard, so you could see the car wheel, you could see Sir Mars's body being crushed between the fence and his own vehicle. His body was also under, part of his body from the chest down was also under the vehicle. So one has to question, why would Sir Mars have to reach his death so violently? First thing, Sir Mars is an openly gay man, an educator, and comedian, to some extent, in capturing all that he did. He was very much a performer, an entertainer. But in most instances, when I cover issues like this, you would have a gay man of an older age being attacked brutally by a younger man. And when you go in depth to understand the psyche of a young man, most of their cases, they would have wanted to live a life that they could not have afforded. This was afforded to them by the older man that they would have now entered into some understanding or relationship with. And rarely, I have not come across any cases, because if you see, Sir Mars is a man. By all means, Sir Mars is a man, right? So this is Sir Mars. Sir Mars is a man in all image and likeness. Physically, a big, strong man. So I can't see somebody in their right senses, and as I look at gay men and you want to know what's going on, what the relationship is about, how does that become symbiotic? What's the thing about? Because, something has to be wrong with a young man. You're having sexual intercourse with a man. Something would obviously have to be wrong with a young man to be in love. A young man could be in love with a girl. You could be in love with an ugly girl. But I can't understand, I can't fathom, I don't know if they are young men. We're starting a podcast very soon that people can come out and say, if you could fall in love, if you could be in love in a situation like this, as a young man would have young girls you're talking to, young girls talking to you, and all, this is all in most cases. If a young man could have a love affair with an older man, who is all manly, it's like having sex with your father. If that is the case, and again, that's not the case. It's not been suggested. The police have not issued a report to suggest. But we're looking at all the scenarios. I am not the Guyana police force. I can't bring closure to this. A police investigation, and maybe even the suspect telling the police what would have driven him to this. I am saying, if you're looking from the point of view of how gay men have been brutally attacked, one has to ask oneself, why is this? And why does it continue to happen? There are components of hate in the crime. There are components of viciousness in the crimes that are perpetrated against gay men. Now, in no way, shape, or form, Sir Mars has played his role in our society and has contributed more than most Guyanese can say they have done. Most Guyanese just run them out and blabber. Sir Mars is an educator, entertainer, and I prefer to see him as a comedian because I always saw him trying to be funny. Look, even in his photos, it's not posed as the candid shot being funny, jolly. No matter what his sexuality or what he chooses to do with his life, he should never, or anyone for that matter of fact, should ever have to die such a gruesome death. Simple as that. There's no discussion on that. The discussion is, why does this continue to happen? Are we studying the psyche of young men? Now, the violence could be compared to how men who are rejected by their wives treat their wives. Like a man who recently murdered his wife in the Alpha Hotel. Women also face. So one has to try to correlate the anger that is being expressed here. One has to try to understand what is the underlying issue here. What is the underlying issue here? This is the discussion. Does our young men have problems? Are they being preyed upon? What is it? This doesn't happen every day. We're a small society, but nonetheless, we are affected by this. And it continues to happen in this manner. We're younger men in contact with gay men, whatever, whether it's sexual or otherwise, continue to murder gay men brutally. Right? Yes. Miss Passad, yes. Vanda Passad, yes. Nobody, especially Sir Mars, who has dedicated his life. He is an educator and has dedicated his life to Guyanese. So that is the essence of the discussion. We have to look. This is the scene and what the scene was like last night. And this is just before The Guyana Fire Service removed So the Guyana Fire Service at this time was removing the vehicle. All of the while, the suspect was on the run, bleeding, and Sir Mars laid dead under his vehicle. So persons who were there, who knew Sir Mars, obviously traumatized. Seeing someone you know, you have grown fond, whether it is grown to love or be fond of, seeing them in that condition would be traumatic for anyone. And again, very unfortunate situation. Very, very unfortunate situation. But again, since the time has come once more, we have to have a discussion. A discussion is needed. Why so? Why would a young man express such cruel and brutal tendencies? What would trigger something like that? Similar to that of men meting out brutal abuse and their attacks and murder of women that reject them. This is the discussion today that should be had. It is Monday morning, and one of the mornings that I make preparations for a productive week. I would like to wish you a productive week. I would like to express my condolences on behalf of TBN and the Guyanese Critic to the family members of Sir Mars, the media fraternity, his friends and family. Condolences. It's unfortunate this is how we have to start our morning. But nonetheless, it is our society. And unless we have discussions that enlighten, inform, edify us, we will not be able to learn from our mistakes or right our wrongs to be able to move forward. I can tell you, the Guyanese Critic, in the true sense and form, is back. And last night, as I read the news of Sir Mars, I thought of the fact that I'm so much more needed in doing what only I can do. Covering all the major stories, giving my take, highlighting the issues, being on the scene when needed. And hoping that in highlighting these issues, bring to the forefront a lot of times things that people might not have known and might have missed. The discussion begins and the transformation of Guyanese attitude and everything else continue. I want to thank you for tuning in to Guyanese Morning Live with the Guyanese Critic, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock.